On last week's episode of Bill Maher's HBO program, Bill Maher went into a diatribe where he defended calling the coronavirus, or COVID-19, the Chinese virus. He talked about how politically correct culture is killing us, and we should be able to call this thing the China virus if we want to. He then went off to name several other viruses that, yeah, sure, historically had been called by the names of the places where they came from. The Spanish flu is the one everybody loves to point to. But Bill Maher says political correctness is killing us and we should be able to call it China virus. Trump wants to call it China virus. He does call it the China virus. Other right-wingers like to call it the China virus, which is odd considering that this is a relatively new talking point among idiots like Trump and Bill Maher. Because in the early weeks of this thing, everybody was fine calling it coronavirus. Had no problem. Nobody was out there saying, let's call it China virus. But then suddenly they decided, hey, you know what this pandemic needs? A little racism. And that's exactly what this is. And that's not an opinion either. Because according to new reports, attacks on Asian Americans have now hit 100 on average per day since this pandemic started. 100 per day. Some of these just verbal attacks, others a little more physical. But they all have one thing in common. These attacks are directly related to ignorant Americans thinking that Chinese people, or actually in this case, any Asian person, first of all, that all Asians are Chinese is the assumption by most ignorant Americans. And two, that if you're Asian, you clearly have this virus and you need to be shamed and shunned and perhaps even beaten, according to these ignorant buffoons out there in this country. And yes, I am talking to you, Bill Maher. I'm talking to you, Donald Trump, and I'm talking to every single moron out there who says, let's call it the China virus. Yeah, that's not how this works. People are getting attacked because of it. So you sit there and say that, oh, politically correct culture is killing us. Ugh, I'm so edgy and cool for a fucking elderly guy. People are getting hurt every day because of this. Words have consequences, you idiot. I'm sorry, is it hurting you? Is it offending you, Bill, that you can't call it the China virus? Does that personally bother you? Are you losing sleep over this? I guarantee you're not. I guarantee you're enjoying your time. You've made millions upon millions upon millions of dollars crafting this persona. Always being on the edge, being the cool guy, the tough guy, the edgy guy, the guy that's kind of push the boundaries. We see what you are. You're a fraud. You peddle in hate and division, just like those on the right. You don't want anything to fundamentally change because that could change your revenue stream. That could change your taxes. You're a piece of crap. And you pretty much always have been. You think if people don't think exactly like you do, that they're the idiots. You think you're the smartest guy in the room. Well, you've never been in a room with me, Bill, and I can promise you, you wouldn't be. But what you're doing is getting people hurt. And if you don't care about that, then I encourage everyone who likes to tune in to Bill Maher to not care about his ratings and turn that crap off.